Diana. Look, let's just get right to it, everybody. It's going to cost the average American about $500 more a month to just live. How does that help middle-income families in our country? How does that help poor families in our country? How does it help seniors on fixed income in our country? It does not. You know, when Joe Biden, when he first came in and he said he had a plan to save America, his American Rescue Plan, House Republicans told him that was going to be a disaster for America. We said it was going to lead to inflation. It did. We said it was going to create a labor shortage. It did. And so now, right now, in the Budget Committee, House Democrats are having a hearing to talk about all of the importance of the American Rescue Plan. Folks, we know the truth. If your plan worked, you don't have to hold congressional hearings to prove it. The proof is in the pudding. Every American would know it. If you're filling up a Suburban anywhere in the United States, it's going to cost you about $125 to $145 to fill it up. That $145 to fill up your Suburban, just to pick up your kids from practice to go back and forth to work, that's money you don't have to put food on the table. But guess what? The food to put on the table costs more too. So that takes away from you being able to have fun this summer like Diana was just talking about. You can't take that vacation. You can't go buy that new article of clothing. You can't go do the next thing that you choose to do. This inflation is the largest tax increase on poor families and middle-income families in decades in the United States, all brought to us by Joe Biden. Frankly, a president who has no idea how an economy actually works.
Hey, welcome back. It's your man Wise, and today I got a heck of a show for you guys, man. Stephen A. threatens to leave New York, gives a backhanded endorsement to President Donald Trump, but I'm here for it. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. AskWiseToday@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me. And without further ado, let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Trump's going to get reelected. Donald Trump's going to be the next president of the United States. If this kind of stuff that I'm reading continues to happen in American cities, Donald Trump is a shoo-in for reelection, even if he's a convicted felon.
Without
And that's a damn shame. But somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. Did you read the story coming out of New York City? Did you read it? Involving Mayor Adams, Eric Adams, who I'm a fan of, by the way. I like him. But I don't like the story that I read over the weekend. And I think it's a story that can't be ignored. And it's talking about how $53 million in prepaid credit cards are in the process of being distributed to migrant families. Now I understand what people are thinking about, what they're wondering about here. Because they're saying to themselves, what's the problem if you're on the left? There's a big problem if you're on the right. No, it ain't that simple. We have to understand that we don't want people eating out of garbage cans. We don't want people starving. We don't want people separated from their children and children separated from their parents. We don't want this. We don't want to be cruel and inhumane. But illegal immigration has become incredibly pervasive since the Biden administration has taken office. We all know that he's capitulated to the extreme left. And even though we wouldn't say specifically and definitively that the borders are open, every time you turn around, particularly in states like Texas and Arizona, and to a lesser degree, California, it is an extreme problem. Well, guess where else it's a problem? It's a problem in New York City, my home. And I got to tell you something right now. If it wasn't for my daughter being there, I'd be gone.
You heard that? He said if it was not for his daughter being there, he would be gone. Just like every other wealthy person that once lived in New York, who now lives in either Florida or Texas, just like all of the businesses that have moved from New York to Florida. Majority of them did. I believe 160 businesses have already relocated outside of the state of New York. They said that over $1 trillion in tax revenue gone because of the policies of the extreme left. New York is going to be inhabitable in 5 years or less. It's already almost heading in that direction, but you're not going to be able to work there. There's not going to be any jobs. All the big companies are going. That's probably why they're coming after or going after Trump so hard, or not necessarily going after Trump so hard, because we know why they're going after him. But that's why that fine was levied, and it was so crazy. They got to find a tax revenue some kind of way. They're hemorrhaging money right now. Companies are leaving by the boatload, and the only thing that will be left there is the government jobs. That will be it. County borough type positions. That will be it. That's the only thing that's going to be left. This border issue, it's not an issue for the right or an issue for the left. This border security, this border crisis we have going on right now, it's an American issue. And both sides are upset and agitated by what is going on. Now, we got the snowflakes out there that are upset about the Israeli-Palestine conflict. There's a lot of people that are upset with how Biden has handled that situation, but those are mainly young people. Goodness gracious, my head is hurting my head. Those are mainly young people. Most of us that actually have bills, careers, paying these taxes, realizing that, our grocery bills just, gone up tremendously. We're looking at this and we're like, man, please. And then you find out that the migrants, not only are they getting a couple $100s, they're getting thousands of dollars. They've been living for free in high-end hotels. Nah, man. This administration has been a straight up debacle. And that dude's out of here, man. And to be honest with you, in the city of New York, all of those folks that are sitting in these positions, elected positions, y'all got to vote these people out of here. Because if you don't, if you vote for the same foolishness, that means that you give consent to the policies that they're implementing. And like I said, New York is not going to be a place that you can live and thrive in anymore. It used to be, the city of dreams. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. That idea is long gone.
Don't like what I'm seeing. But it's not just because of migrants or illegal immigration. It's because it's mayhem. Folks don't know how to act. It's not an accident that the former president keeps bringing up law and order, law and order, law and order, because those are catchwords. Those are the kind of things that make you go to the polls and vote out of fear. And it works.
But they're not lies. Yes, law and order is needed. Law and order is needed in any society. In order to have a strong country, a productive nation, law and order is a must. So, of course, he's speaking on law and order because they've allowed these people to come over here. We don't know who they are. And now the word is starting to get out of the atrocities that they are committing. These people are not just here getting and receiving free things. They're out here committing major crimes, not just a few like crimes of despair. No, they're out there killing. They're out there assaulting. They're out there robbing. They have prostitution rings. They have pickpocket rings. They literally have gangs that have gone in certain cities and taken over entire homeless shelters. It's crazy right now what's going on.
Throughout history, it has worked. But now this is a different kind of fear, but a fear tinged with frustration. Because when you hear about migrants receiving $53 million in prepaid credit cards, the Eric Adams administration in the mayor's office in New York City will tell you it's going to save about $600,000 a month. But that's not how poor people are looking at it. You know what black poor people are looking at it like? You know what Latinos who happen to be poor that arrived in this country are looking at it like? Where that money come from us? I could have used it. I could use the extra $500 a month. I could use the extra $1,000 a month. I could do that. They want to sit up there. I just want to read some of this stuff to you because I want to make sure that we put it in its proper context. New York City will soon launch a $53 million pilot program to hand out prepaid credit cards to migrant families housed in hotels, according to the report. The New York Post has reported that 500 migrant families at the Roosevelt Hotel will receive prepaid cards to help them buy food. The program is intended to replace the current food service provided there, the Post reported. A spokesperson for Eric Adams said, quote, not only will this provide families with the ability to purchase fresh food for their culturally relevant diets and the baby supplies of their choosing, but the pilot program is expected to save New York City more than $600,000 per month and more than $7.2 million annually. Here are the stipulations. Migrants eligible for the program must sign an affidavit stating they will only spend the funds on food and baby supplies or else they will lose access to funds, the report said. Another stipulation, the amount available to each family depends on their size and how much income they are receiving, according to a contract reviewed by the Post. A family of 4 might be provided nearly $1,000 each month or $35 per day for food. If the pilot program is a success with the initial 500 migrant families, it'll be expanded to all migrant families staying in hotels, which is currently at $15,000, according to this report. More than 150,000 migrants have arrived in New York City since 2022, overwhelming city resources as Texas Governor Greg Abbott has bused asylum seekers to New York. Now,
Who in the world is going to oversee and make sure that these people do what they are supposed to be doing with this money? Who's responsible for that? They can't even vet people at the border. They can't even process people well at the border. They're not doing a good job processing people up in New York, but they're going to make illegal immigrants, invaders, sign an affidavit swearing them to only spend the money on the things that they've been told they can spend the money. These are prepaid debit cards. They're going to have a Visa. They're going to be able to go anywhere with these things. They're going to be able to buy anything with this cash. This is ridiculous. DA Bragg, he won't even prosecute these people, but you're going to have them sign an affidavit? Who's going to uphold the affidavit? Who's going to do it? Are you asking the same people, the same district attorneys that allowed these migrants to jump on police officers and allow them to be released from jail within 3 hours? Is that the same DA that's going to uphold and prosecute folks that go against the affidavit? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling us? Is that what you're telling the American people? Make that make sense. It's foolery. They think we're stupid. This is ridiculous.
there are people who are absolutely appalled by that, playing around with lives. Fair enough. Mayor Adams has decried the bust arrivals as a humanitarian crisis and said that providing food and housing for the migrants will cost about $12 billion over 3 years. Adams traveled to Latin America on a tour to dissuade potential migrants in Mexico, Colombia, and Ecuador from attempting to come to the city, saying the city, quote, is at capacity, end quote. Let me say this to Mayor Eric Adams, who I respect. That may be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard a politician do. You're going to travel to a country that's starving, that's desolate, that's impoverished, that's desperate to come to the United States of America, and you're going to beg them not to cross borders into the United States and end up in New York City rather than going to politicians right here in America from different states like the Abbotts of the world, the DeSantis's in Florida?
No, he doesn't need to go talk to anyone down in Florida or Texas. He needs to go down to D.C. and have a conversation with the president and the vice president, who is supposed to be the border czar. He needs to take his gripes to them. So you're going to go to these Latin American nations. I agree with Stephen A. right there. That trip, whatever that is, it's falling on deaf ears. they're still going to release these people. It didn't stop anything. These people are still coming up here in droves. He needs to go address the right people. That's like going to a restaurant. You get bad service. The food's not great. And instead of going to have a conversation with whoever the manager or the owner is, you decide that you are going to share your grievances with the patrons that are sitting next to you. Those people can't solve your problem. Those people cannot solve your problem. Or even better, that's like going to the restaurant next door and telling them your grievance with the restaurant across the way. Those people can't solve your problem. But we know what time it is. We know what time it is with this White House, with this White House administration. We know what time it is. He knows that if he goes down there, he's going to get the smackdown, and he's going to get kicked right back up to New York. And he's probably already been told, don't you bring your black behind back down here anymore. Because he did go down there, and then all of a sudden, his people were under investigation. So he's probably already realized that he's getting no help from the Biden administration. And he's probably been told, don't you bring your tail back down here again. But the people of New York City, you guys have no one to blame for this but yourselves. You guys helped and voted these sanctuary city laws in, trying to be pretentious and sound like y'all are better and such great humanitarians. Oh, yeah, if you can make it here, you can stay and we'll help you and we'll do this, that, and the third. Oh, really? So Governor DeSantis, Governor Abbott said, you want them? Here, have them. Now you're complaining. It was okay when it was just a thought. It was okay. These people are ridiculous. And that's what I'm talking about. Democrats, like I said, they're some of the biggest grifters out there. But the thing is that when you're a grifter, eventually the grift is going to catch up with you. And the grift is catching up with them fast.
Arizona and beyond and talking and negotiating with them? You're going to go to citizens and politicians in Latin America, Mexico, Colombia, and Ecuador to ask them for assistance? Have you lost your ever-loving mind? That makes no sense. That's about the worst plan I ever heard in my damn life. Why would they listen to you if they're desolate and starving and in desperate need? So much so that they come here, and even for $1,000 a month, that's exponentially better than whatever conditions they're facing in their respective countries. Why would they listen? It comes down to us.
It's not just $1,000 a month, though. It's $1,000 plus free room and board, plus free health care, plus free transportation. So when you add everything up, it's definitely more than $1,000. And they are probably living exponentially better than the way that they were living back in whatever country they came from. Almost for certain that is the case. So these people are living high on the hog, and they're being given cash that they can basically just do whatever they want to do.
Trump's going to get reelected. Donald Trump's going to be the next president of the United States. And so when you have something like that, what's the one way to eradicate it? Yes, you got to have a flourishing economy. Yes, you can't have inflation. Yes, you can't be on the verge of a recession. Milk don't need to cost $7. Bread don't need to cost $5. Don't get me started with how much sugar costs. You can talk about employment all you want to. You can talk about the labor participation rate. But guess what? If you ain't making no damn money and you got to get 2 jobs to pay the same prices or to buy the same amount of stuff that you used to buy and the price is higher than it used to be because of inflation, then guess what? What are you really accomplishing? That's why Trump is on the verge of getting elected, reelected. Because when he was in office, there was a flourishing economy. There was a whole bunch of other problems. And I personally think his return to the presidency is going to be civil war in this country because he's going to be desensitized to bringing anybody together because he's going to be on a revenge tour to get back at everybody who went against him. And I think it could be the worst possible thing for the country. But I can't blame 50 Cent, for example, when he sits up there and he's tweeting, Eric Adams, I need you to explain this to me. What the hell is going on? Maybe we should consider Trump. When he says something like that, like you can see right here, what he's saying when he said it on his social media pages, I can't blame 50 Cent for that. You want to sit up there and excoriate Ice Cube now? When he didn't pick sides in 2020 When he wasn't telling you to vote for Biden or Trump, he was just saying, yo, I want to present a plan for Black America and see who's willing to listen. And Trump gave the okay and the impression he was willing to listen. You want to call Ice Cube a sellout now?
Exactly. Not to mention, Ice Cube was on code. That's how it's supposed to be. The fact that the sellouts, the way they went after him, I'm talking about all the liberals out in Hollywood, all the liberals in the mainstream media, they called Ice Cube everything but a child of God. Called him a sellout, a bootlick, a coon, a Sambo. Because he's saying, you know what? I have a plan. I'm willing to speak to both sides. Which side and who's willing to help us? Trump lended him an ear. Biden and Kamala Harris said, we'll get back to you. They still have not gotten back to him, and it's 3 years later. Actually, almost 3.5 years later at this point. That right there should have been the start of the wake up for most Black people. I keep telling y'all, these Democrats think they own you. They think they own you and your vote. They don't have to do anything for you. Anytime someone stood up and said, you know what, we should listen to both sides, they called that man everything. He ain't the only one, though. There's been a multitude of other people that have said the same thing, and they came after him the same way. Right then and there, that right there should be the eye opener. That should have given you the awakening. See, I've been awake for a while. I've been off that plantation for a while. I try to get others and pull other people off, but they're still asleep. They're still believing that this party has their best interests when they don't. And historically, they've shown that they don't. I seen something the other day where there was a sister talking about, she had a Al Gore picture or something like that, talking about how cute he was. Not knowing that Al Gore comes from, man, some racist people. His father was a segregationist. I mean, the brainwashing that the Democrats did on old Black folks is nothing less than remarkable, to be honest with you. I would assume that as the awakening happens, there is going to be a study. Actually, there probably has already been studies by other nations, other psychologists out there, so they can figure out how they can do to their people what the Democrats have done to Black people. How did they get them to vote consistently against their own interests, kill their own children, destroy their own families? How did they get them to do this? And continue to vote for them and use them to turn on other people that look like them, that tell them these folks ain't right. How did they accomplish this? I'm sure there are studies. I'm sure there are books and papers written about this, so it can be used and utilized in other places around the world, because it has been nothing less than unbelievable that this has happened. It is crazy. I can't believe it. I really can't. This video is going a lot longer than I expected. But you see Stephen A is waking up. Stephen A has taken a bite of the red pill. He hadn't swallowed the whole thing. He chopped that thing in half and he's taken one piece. You heard what he said. If it wasn't for his daughter, he would leave New York. And I don't blame him. And I would almost for certain tell you he ain't moving to California because Cali ain't no better. Now he be on TV talking about how much he like LA. Oh, I love LA. I love LA. But LA isn't better. People are leaving the state of California in droves. The same way companies have been leaving New York, companies have been leaving California. It's been a mass exodus out of both of those states, who they were both once great states, considered the greatest states in this country, New York and California. Not anymore. Like I said, those two states, if they keep going at the rate that they're going to be inhabitable for working people that want to live out the American dream or that want to pursue the American dream. Those aren't states that you can do that in, based on the administrations they have in there and the policies that they've implemented. You just can't. State of California, you can't even hardly buy a house in the major cities, San Francisco and LA and out there in Sacramento and other places like that, where the median, the average home price is $800,000 and $900,000 for a small cracker box. Same thing up in New York. You got people paying $2,000 and $3,000 a month to rent a walk-in closet. What? This is insane. And they've conned everybody to believe that this is the way it is and this is how things are supposed to be and that things are so great. The fact that you have Democrats that can lie through their teeth and tell you that things are great and the economy is wonderful when there's been hundreds of thousands of people that have lost their jobs. You got millions of people working 2 and 3 jobs just to make it when 5 years ago you only needed one because the one paid you so well. We've had over 7 million illegals come across this country dating back to 2021. Some people say it's been 10 million. Others think that number could be upwards of 20 million. Think about that, man. Washington State diverted $340 million to give to illegal immigrants. Over $150 billion has been spent between the federal and the state's government in 1 year trying to solve this issue. It is insanity what's happening. And then you got a guy like Stephen A. that says, like it's a bad thing, Trump is going to win. When the economy was booming. The economy was booming during that time frame. Stock market up. Home prices were rising, but interest rates were low. You got more house for less money. When you look at the black community and the amount of money that was given to HBCUs that was locked in for 10 plus years or so. When you looked at, how many black people lifted themselves out of poverty, how many Americans in general lifted themselves out of poverty because the economy was booming. Gas was low, jobs were plentiful, more businesses were being started. Trump created these opportunity zones and more businesses were being started in low and impoverished areas more than ever before. The path to homeownership was so much more attainable. I mean, it's crazy. So yes, Trump's going to go in there. He's got to go in there with a vengeance because he has 4 years to reverse a lot of these idiotic policies that these people implemented. He said something along the lines of a mass deportation. Absolutely. These people got to go. There's got to be some deals cut with Mexico and things of that nature to say, hey, these people got to stay here and they got to work their way through the asylum process if that's what they want to do. It takes 5 to 7 years and maybe they could do something to help speed up that process a little. But at the same time, what we know about government workers, people who work for the government, especially once you become a federal employee, there's no incentive for them to do anything quickly. Y'all realize that once you become a federal government worker, it takes an act of Congress for you to be fired? An act of Congress for them to fire you. That's how locked in these people are. So there's no incentive for them to be great at their job. There's no incentive for them to move quickly. That's why this process takes 5 to 7 years. It's not because they're bogged down. It's because there's no incentive. They get paid the same. They know they can't be fired, whether they work hard or don't or barely work. That's why you got a lot of folks trying to get into the government because they know once you get there, your money. They know this. I know too many people. I live in the DMV area where it seems like most people work for the government in some shape, way, form, or fashion. And the contractors actually work their tails off. If you're a contractor, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the people who work directly for the government. I've heard stories of people doing some of the craziest things, and they're like, we got to hire a contractor to do the job because this dude won't do the job, but they can't fire him. That's how I found out it took an act of Congress because someone told me. I was like, why don't y'all fire this dude? They're like, man, we can't fire him. All we can do is move him around, send him to another department. We can't fire him because it takes an act of Congress to fire a federal worker. I was like, wait, what? What? That's how I found this out. It's insanity. That's the type of foolishness we have going on in our government. It's bloated. We got too many people there that shouldn't be there, and they have no incentive to do their job at a high level. And that's why you get piss poor outcomes. Point blank, period. I'm renting. goodness gracious, I hate when that happens. But hey, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I'm sorry this video ran long. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do better. I promise you I will. Keep God first in your life, America first, and I'm gonna catch up with you all next time. Peace.